Welcome to Health, Wellbeing and Lifestyle, where experts in the field inform, educate and inspire the community to be healthier, balanced and live the lifestyle they love. Our first guest today is health coach Denise Mokadsi. We'll be discussing the topic, are you feeling powerless about your health? Epigenetics and a personalised lifestyle can help you prevent chronic disease. Welcome, Denise.
Hi, how are you going?
Denise, you say you have more control over preventing chronic disease than we think. Can you explain what you mean by that?
A lot of people think that we're at the mercy of our genes, and we're actually not. About 80% of our lifestyle diseases are related to how we're living. This sort of becomes around the topic of epigenetics. And epigenetics is probably something that people have heard before, but maybe not be quite sure about what it is. And a good way to understand it is to break it down. I like to break it down into the two parts. So the epi, the first part of the epigenetics refers to on top or above, and the genetics is our DNA. So most people understand, we've got genetics, we've got DNA. But a lot of the things that we do and how we show up in the world is a result of how those genes are expressed. These genes can be altered by things that sit on top of the genes or affect the genes, and that's the part of the epigenetics. So it really does come down to lifestyle, and all of the things that we do in our lifestyle influences where these markers might go or how these genes are either turned on or silenced. So that's how we can have a lot of control, more control over what happens to our health. And we're not really at the mercy of just getting a chronic disease or an illness. Most of us who, how we do end up getting sick differs so much. You might know someone that has lived a certain way, like maybe smoked their whole life and has never been sick. Or someone else has gotten lung cancer. Why is it that we can do similar things to other people, but our results can be very different? And that is really because of our genetics.
Can you give us an example of how tailoring an approach to someone's genetics or their personal biology could make a difference?
Tailoring approach is really helpful because it does save a lot of guesswork. People can try lots of different things, and you might have heard someone does very well with intermittent fasting or to be on a keto diet, so someone might try to do that as well and find that it doesn't work for them. So there's no problem with people trying things. That's definitely a strategy, but it can put people into more of a stress response if they're doing something that's against their genetics or their natural biology. And so we can personalise particular strategies for people by understanding what their biology is and what their DNA or genetics is best suited to, and personalised strategies for them knowing that. So they don't have to go through the guesswork. So I can give you some examples around all the lifestyle strategies or lifestyle things that we do. Very common, food. Everyone eating different foods can be very challenging, trying to work out a different diet, like should I be vegetarian, should I be carnivore? But when we do genetic testing, we can see that someone's biology will be better suited to metabolizing vegetables, for example, or they're better responding with carbohydrates, or better responding to proteins or fats. So this can help us set a diet or a nutritional approach around the things that suit their body better. So if they're very responsive to carbohydrates, eating a diet with more carbohydrates is going to be very beneficial for them, rather than avoiding carbohydrates because they think that they should, or that avoiding carbohydrates for someone else was good for that person, but it might not necessarily be good for this person. Similarly, with exercise and workout, you see a lot of people trying to do workouts that worked really well for other people, like the HIIT kind of style, the F45 and the CrossFit and all of the high intensity kind of intervals where people can get results if their body is suited to that kind of training. Someone who has the genetics that is better suited to strength training or endurance type training would do better or get better results doing that kind of activity. And so we just want to try to avoid putting the body under unnecessary stress by knowing how to match people's lifestyles to, you know, what they've been born with, basically.
Denise, what are some tips you've got for our viewers in terms of them taking control of their long-term health?
Definitely for long-term health, so that we're avoiding or preventing the chronic health issues that we see, you know, the diabetes, the obesity, osteopenia, osteoporosis, all these kind of chronic diseases. We can really avoid those by 3 simple things. Well, there's more, but I will limit it to 3. So thinking about eating healthy, and while we can personalise how that might look for somebody, what foods exactly they're eating, how much of certain types of foods, so what percentages of carbohydrates, proteins and fats, and also the timings of when people eat. That's really important too, the chronobiology of when we should be eating, like how our body best metabolises foods. For most people, avoiding processed foods and eating whole foods in their natural state is going to be a really good tip for longevity and healthy living into the future, with, you know, trying to avoid those chronic illnesses. Sleep's really important. So chronic illness really comes down to how can we manage the stress on our body, and if we can get decent sleep, 6 to 8 hours per night, that's very beneficial for healthy aging and longevity, because when we sleep, so much of repair and recovery is happening, and if we shortchange that, then we're going to miss out on recovering properly, that we get this continued stress day after day after day, which really builds up and can bring us into those chronic ill health states. And just having a really mindful mindset, I guess, a positive mindset, because how we see ourselves and the people around us and our belief systems is a very big influence on our stress load, like how we manage what we're experiencing day to day. So I think getting on top of those 3 things is going to help people move the dial quite a lot towards healthy aging and living, you know, longer, healthier. Another important thing is that we can try lots of things, but if someone's really struggling, it's probably better to go and seek professional advice so that you can get on top of the things and they don't get worse. So yeah, I would always recommend seeking professional advice to help people with their health and well-being where they're stuck.
Thanks for such valuable information, Denise. If you'd like to know more about how epigenetics can help prevent chronic disease and improve your lifestyle, and more about Denise Mokadsi, please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And after the break, we have another interesting guest with another interesting topic. Stay tuned. After the break, trauma therapist and author Melissa Hiemann will be talking about how trauma affects our finances and our relationship with money. Welcome back. Our second guest, Melissa Hiemann, is a trauma therapist and author, and the topic we'll be discussing today is how trauma affects our finances and relationship with money. Welcome, Melissa.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Melissa, how does early trauma affect our relationships with money?
Yeah, so I guess before I go into that, I'll explain about what trauma is. So trauma can be any stressful or very emotional response that we have growing up, and those strong emotions embed in our nervous system, in our body, a strong belief about ourselves and the world. So for example, with money, if we grew up in a family where our parents and our family was always saying, oh, our rich uncle, he's so evil, he's so bad, he doesn't share his money, I might grow up thinking, well, if you have money, you're a bad person. And so in that particular case, I will make sure I don't have lots of money because unconsciously I don't want to be a bad person. Another belief could be that, so say I grew up in poverty and I grew up, we didn't have much money, we were always scraping by. That will normalize to me. I will believe that that is what it's like to be in a family, to live, that you're always stressing about money, fighting about money and never having enough. And so we can take that generational trauma with us into adulthood and just recreate those beliefs.
Melissa, how does money management affect our relationships with other people?
Firstly, we have a relationship with money ourselves. And so when we relate with money, maybe we might be anxious, maybe we might want to hold on to money, maybe we want to get rid of it all, and we don't know why. And how this can affect us in relationships if we both have conflicting conditioning or trauma from growing up on how to manage money, then it's going to get really frustrating. And there's high rates of divorce because of financial issues. So for example, if there's a relationship where a husband and wife, they both manage money very differently, there might be a lot of conflict in the house around it. And so for example, one partner always wants to go buy designer clothes and outfits and get rid of all their money, and the other partner always wants to save and make sure that they have enough to eat, roof overhead. And so if the partners are fighting around that, two things will happen. They might lose their relationship with each other, or they're just a high conflict. It's not very nice. And also the kids might be watching that, and the kids are watching that relationship and thinking, wow, money causes a lot of fights. When I get into a relationship when I'm older, we're just not going to talk about money, you know, or we don't want to, like, I don't want to have money because it causes fights. And that continually gets passed down. The other thing can be in terms of our own relationship with money. It's like, do we trust that more money is going to come in, or do we hold on to it? Because some people have trauma around money has been stolen from them, and because of that they constantly get rid of all their money in their account because they have this trauma, they have this fear, and then someone else might have, you know, grown up with poverty, and they like come to, say, Australia, and they have all these opportunities and they start making money, but they keep all the money and they don't even look after themselves properly because they want to hoard all of the money. They don't trust that more is going to come. It can be very triggering when you're in a relationship with someone that has different conditioning and traumas and emotions around money. It can cause a lot of arguments and fights. So some specific examples of money mismanagement might be someone that is gambling. So what can happen is that maybe when they first gambled, they got a very strong positive response, positive chemicals like dopamine. They're like, oh, this feels amazing. And then what happens is, even though they start getting rid of their money, their brain has this very strong file, this very strong memory, that this gives you a very positive experience and you get lots of money out of it. And that's why these people will keep gambling until they might lose their family, their house, their relationships, because they're chasing that initial dopamine release. And the same can be with just spending in general. Like, women like to go shopping and spending. I think it's quite natural. I think it comes from the hunter-gatherer days where we were gatherers. Kind of want to go out and gather still. And so basically what happens is we might spend a lot of money, look at our account, feel shame about that money mismanagement, and this can go on for years and years. Maybe it started happening in our early 20s when we first started making money. And so then what happens is, when we see that, as soon as we get a bit of money, we want that dopamine release again. We don't want to feel that shame and that guilt. And so it's self-perpetuating. The way that we deal with that shame and that guilt of we've mismanaged our money again is we actually go and do the exact thing that's causing it and go shopping to try and feel better. So these specific issues, when you bring them into a relationship, you can imagine for a person that doesn't understand why they're having those trauma responses and why they're doing certain things, even though it's sabotaging their life, it's going to be very hard when their partner is like, why are you doing that? And it's conflicting with the family goals or having their basic needs met.
Melissa, what advice do you have for our viewers that might be experiencing money management problems due to trauma?
So firstly, you can get an indication of maybe your relationship with money, your personal relationship, and we speak about it in terms of attachment. So do you have an anxious attachment with money? Are you always checking your account to make sure the money's in there? Or do you have an avoidant attachment with money? Maybe you hate checking your bank account, you avoid it at all costs, you avoid looking at your money or having any financial education. And there can be so many grey areas in between there. Maybe you love money more than anyone else, you know, and you just do bad things to try and get as much money as you can. Because of trauma, you feel some kind of deficit, that you aren't worthy without money. So when you get those indications and clues as to, yeah, maybe I do mismanage money, maybe I have some shame, if you can work through that shame and you can maybe reach out to a financial counsellor, which are actually free in Australia, you can start to work through that and maybe start reading about money, because when we don't understand something, then we can be scared of it. You know, if we don't understand how to invest and what that's actually like without the emotions, then we're not going to do that and look after our future selves. So the first step is release the shame and then get education and support around that.
Thanks, Melissa. That's such a hot topic. If you'd like to know more about how trauma affects our finances and relationship with money and Melissa Hiemann, please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And after the break, we have another interesting guest with another interesting topic.
Stay tuned. After the break, journalist and meditation teacher Beatriz Goyoaga will be talking about the 4 sources of energy for health and well-being. Welcome back. Our third guest is journalist and meditation teacher Beatriz Goyoaga, and we will be talking about the 4 sources of energy to improve your health and well-being. Welcome, Beatriz. It's so great to have you back.
Thank you very much. I'm now very much part of the program.
So please tell me, what are the 4 sources of energy?
I tell you, I've lived sitting on that chair for a long time, interviewing presidents, getting up at 4 in the morning, covering countries in war, being in Afghanistan, stressful, and my energy level was so low, very low. And so, you know, I just couldn't sleep well, and I demanded many things from people, and I was impatient, and I had all the side effects of stress. That first of all, even before meditation and before breath workshop, we have to look at the very simple 4 sources of energy which are given to us by the universe. First is a very common one, but we don't pay attention. Food. First is food. Second one is rest. Third one is breath. Many people, few people know about the amount of energy that we can get through breath. And the last and fourth, and not the least, the last but not the least, is a happy state of mind. When you're happy, your energy goes up. And within the last one, the happy state of mind, meditation comes in. Food, we think that we are the garbage collector. No, our body is a precious tool that has been given to us. We should not only respect our body, our needs, and feed the body properly, because we're feeding the body any garbage. Fresh food, many vegetables, many fruits. I mean, in Australia, you have everything, fruits and vegetables and freshly cooked food. That's the main thing. Look after your food. And then also look after your drink. 1 glass of wine, 2 fingers of wine, that's okay, it's good. So watch what you drink and drink a lot of water. The doctors are very happy with me because in the Art of Living we teach people to drink between 3 and 4 liters of water every day. So important to drink. The body needs a lot of water and we don't drink enough water. The second one is rest. And resting is not sleeping. Resting, I mean, even if you just take 15 minutes in between work, take 15 minutes to do nothing. And nothing is nothing. People don't know anymore. They go to the beach, they take Netflix. They go jogging and they take the earphones. Resting, give the mind a break. In meditation, you also give the mind a break, but that comes last. Third one is breath. With the breath, you can control your mind, you can control your emotions. Every emotion that the mind produces has a different pattern of breath. When you're very stressed, how do you breathe? Like this. When you're very tired, zero energy. Something is contracting. When good news, you move, your energy expands. And when you are down, contraction. So this is just to tell you how important breath is for the control of emotions, because fear is an emotion, anger is an emotion. You use your breath and you can increase your level of energy tremendously. And then the last source of energy is a happy state of mind. Can I ask you something? Who is responsible for your happiness? Me. But we are very keen in saying, my dog has to make me happy, my boyfriend, my husband, because of my children I'm not happy, because of the money I'm not happy. What? It is my responsibility to be happy no matter what. In this fourth source of energy, which is a happy state of mind, is meditation. If you're able to reach deep meditation, 20 minutes of deep meditation is the equivalent of 3 hours of good, deep sleep. So include your meditation in your happy state, because when you sleep well, oh, what a nice sleep I had. So if you look after these 4 sources of energy to begin with,
which source do you think is the most important? Which one would you say, if I said, okay, of the 4, I want to choose one for today to do, which one would you suggest?
One goes to the other. You cannot eat well and not sleep proper. Yeah, you have to respect the 6 to 8 hours that the body needs. Yeah, and the main one is meditation and the breath. The breath work every day. I brush my teeth, I wash my body, I sit and I brush my mind. I wash my mind. My energy level is high and I come out prepared. If somebody crosses my car with another vehicle, I don't shout, ah! I just go, my goodness, this guy must be so tired. And I'm more patient. So I would say all of them are very, very important. But if I had to choose, I would do nothing I'll do before I do my breath and meditation. I don't leave the house. If I have to fly, if I have to go to a funeral, if I have to visit my in-laws, I go first for my breath and meditation, and then my life is much, much better because my energy is high and I cannot change my surroundings. I can't change that, but I can change myself. I can be strong, cool, calm, and collected through breath and meditation. I am still the same housewife, the same journalist, the same athlete, but now I am a more tranquil and happier woman.
So what tips would you have for our viewers now? What should they do to work with their breath and meditation?
My first tip is do not postpone, procrastinate. Start today. Start looking at your diet today and do some exercise, do some yoga, do some running. Jogging is for free. You don't need to pay the gym. Do something with your body. And also start finding out the benefits of the breath. I climbed the Everest twice. Once from Tibet and one from the Nepali side. And my breath had to be very good, I tell you. It has to be very good. You need training. But you train yourself for your family, train yourself for your office, for your job, for the traffic, for the issues of everyday life. And I tell you, it is a before and after.
Wonderful. It's been such a pleasure to hear about this today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
If you would like to know more about the 4 sources of energy and Beatriz, you can visit her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. That's all we have time for today. Goodbye until next week.
If you'd like to know more about our show, please like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel.